Welcome back, everybody, to the Crucible with Jeff Marshall. As usual, we have another great episode for you here. Let's get right to it. Modupe, thank you for pleasuring us with your presence on the Crucible.
Thank you.
I am going to take a few minutes and allow you to sit there in embarrassment while I read your bio.
Okay.
This is the most uncomfortable part. So it's interesting because this show was really set up for us to go deep. And what's interesting is the most uncomfortable part for all of our guests is when I'm reading the bio. Because you're just sitting there listening to somebody talk about you.
Yeah.
So enjoy, what do they say? Got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Okay.
Let's see how comfortable you are.
Okay.
Everyone, this is Modupe Congleton. She is a visionary leader with over 20 years of experience dedicated to fostering inclusive environments and empowering underrepresented voices. She's led cultural transformation at major corporations like Cisco and Amazon, where she leveraged technology to integrate DEI strategies, impacting millions globally. As an angel investor, she invests her time, money, and expertise in businesses with diverse communities through financial support and mentorship. Modupe is also a film producer and fashion entrepreneur. And if you were here to see behind the scenes before we got started, we were telling her stuff she already knew. She knows that's her camera. So Modupe is a film producer and fashion entrepreneur, where she elevates marginalized voices and promotes inclusive narratives through storytelling. Her leadership continues to create sustainable impact across many, many industries. Modupe, thank you again for blessing us with your presence.
Thank you, and shout out to my assistant for tweaking the bio and just making it sound so amazing. So thank you.
Well, so it's interesting.
I wasn't even uncomfortable.
Oh, good. That's what's
good.
up.
Yeah,
that's great. Like so it's interesting because they might have simplified it, but the truth of the matter is those who already know you know the great things you've done.
Thank you.
Right? They know it, they admire you, they adore you. It's those in our audience who don't know you, which is the only reason we even read the bio.
Yeah.
Because this whole show is really about talking about crucible moments, these severe tests that we all go through on our way to success.
Yeah.
And having had success, we know that those moments are really where the learnings are.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're here to talk about. I would love to give you the floor right now and just kind of tell us about your crucible moment.
Yeah, and of course, as you can imagine, being of a certain age, there are many life-defining moments. But I'll share one that I hadn't shared with anyone up until this point. So the beautiful thing about hearing my bio being read was it was a reminder of the impact. Yeah. I think that on this journey to entrepreneurship, you can forget sometimes that you do have all the skills and you've developed the muscle to take the leap. And for me, I'll tell you, I was at a beautiful place in my career, and that place of, leading inclusion across, 2 tech giants. Yeah. I was really proud of what I had accomplished. My reach, my impact, and more importantly, legacy is always important to me. And a crucible moment that happened earlier this year for me was I made the decision to relocate to Atlanta, Georgia for Amazon. And a week after I had finalized everything, they eliminated my position.
Oh, wow.
So it was that moment where all of that success that I felt, I all of a sudden felt like a failure.
Yeah.
Now, of course, as a leader, I've gone through, restructurings. I've had to lay people off. And not that I even view those individuals as failures, but I was so proud of what I had accomplished that I didn't know how to even respond in that moment to what was happening. And so what it did for me was it pushed me to take my mental health seriously. It pushed me to really look at life differently. And it also pushed me to think about ownership differently. When you work hard every single day, 12, 14 hours a day, travel all over the world, making a difference, so you think. And then in a blink of an eye, it's all taken away. Yeah. It made me think about building my own intellectual property so that the ownership stays with me and not that I use my, mental capacity to build for someone else. and they just have you walk away from it.
I love that. I'm going to correct you on one thing you said there.
Yeah.
You said, supposedly making a difference. It made a difference.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
It made a difference.
Yeah, it 100% made a difference. There are people out there that your work has impacted that you will never even know.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, or 10 years from now, you'll be somewhere and someone will bring up something you did. I'll do it for you right now. The first time I ever met you, you were on a panel.
Oh, really?
Yes, on Martha's Vineyard.
At Martha's Vineyard.
I was
getting ready to say, in the vineyard.
I happened to sit next to you and 3 other phenomenal Black women from Amazon. I think it was 3 of you.
Yeah.
And we had a quick conversation, and the next thing I know, you were on stage. And I said, okay, sister, like, so it's, like the fact that you're, here today, like I would have never envisioned that.
Yeah.
At that point, I just was like, this is a really dope sister that has been doing some things. So we're gonna remove the supposedly and just say we're gonna live in that you have created that impact.
Thank you. And I'll be honest with you. Thank you for even sharing that. Something that has been, I've been really proud of the fact that I've traveled so many places around the world, and whether it's Asian countries or talking to young girls in India, and they look at me and they see themselves of what's possible. Yes. Because if you see me, I'm not the typical corporate person, that you would see, right? I'm 5'10". I love fashion, hence the transition to being a fashion designer. But it does warm your heart when you meet those people and they admire you because they are inspired by what they could potentially become. Yeah.
No, I love that. And I think that, you're the idea. So the other thing you mentioned was, having been in positions of leadership where you unfortunately had to let people go because that's how the business works, even though you hadn't thought of them as a failure. I think the real learning is it's not that you thought of them as a failure. It's what happens to you when when your role is eliminated, right? So it's the fact that you had all these successes, not only in your mind, right? Like out there in the world, people are like, oh, this is who this is. And so talk to us a little bit about that feeling of like feeling like a failure and how you kind of move through that.
Yeah, it's really hard. And one of the things I truly believe that's core to my DNA is resilient. I'm absolutely resilient. And so when I got that shock to my soul, I'll admit I was devastated. I fell apart. Crying, I was devastated. I had just made a decision to uproot my family. Even convincing your child who has gone to the same school since she was in kindergarten, and now you're getting ready to uproot her life. And just going through that exercise of looking for a place and all these things, it was a lot. But what it did was it pushed me to really focus on what I wanted for myself next. Learn to revalue who I was as a person differently. Because I also think that when you are a leader in corporate America, we place so much importance on being busy and on the title.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And then what it did for me was it made me just strip everything away and say, who are you, Modupe? And so there's this book, I talk about this book repeatedly by Kamal Ravikant called Love Yourself, Like Your Life Depends on It.
Oh, I love it.
And I just started to take it seriously. But I also asked God, like, please help me. So between therapy, my talks with God, and reading, right, through Headway, I just started on that journey of like being inspired by myself and loving myself. And once I did that, I was able to sort of pick my head up from the haze of feeling like that I didn't know what was next for me. And then having a wonderful network of people who encouraged me to dream. And once I started dreaming, like everything, this history is whatever. What's that saying? The rest is history.
The rest is history. No, I 100% get it. I'll give you, so if I can take a second to just really relate on this quickly. So I used to be the chief diversity officer at a company called Worldwide. And I'd done a lot of phenomenal work, and my role was eliminated. And in that time of feeling like a failure, like you said, and having really good days and really bad days, the Crucible was born.
Yes.
This show was
Exactly.
born for moments like this, in a
Yes.
moment like this. And I think it's really important to just kind of point that out. I
Yeah.
also want to say you use all this mental capital
Yeah.
on behalf of a corporation or
Yeah.
someone else. And initially, when your role gets eliminated, you feel like, who am I?
Who am I?
And I said this to another guest where we were having a conversation. You eventually realize that it's not like who you are that
Yeah.
really matters. It's like where you are, because there
Yeah.
is a plan that is acting out. You just didn't know this particular plan.
You just didn't know that plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
And
yeah.
so you're right where you're supposed to be, and you are
100%.
who you are has nothing to do with your last role.
100%.
So I really thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
If there was something in particular, like you want someone to walk away from this conversation with a nugget that they hold on to when they hit whatever crucible moment they hit,
Yeah.
because as you know, like you're sharing one,
Right.
and you and I could probably sit here and talk for hours about
Exactly.
so many crucible
yeah.
moments that you have over your career. But for the sake of the audience, I would love for you, if you have just one thing
Yeah.
that you learned, it could be two things, whatever, but that you would share with them and say, hey, when you walk away from watching this episode,
Yeah.
remember these things.
I would say to your audience, when you begin to reflect on the crucible moment, normally you can feel it in your soul that something's about to happen. It's like that stirring, that, like that intuitive feeling where you're like, something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I would encourage your audience to really start to mentally think through, where am I in this moment?
Yeah.
And if it's a moment to pause and reflect, just sort of really focus on keeping your emotions regulated.
Yeah.
And so when you are in those spaces, one of the biggest lessons that I learned during this time was, and I would say, if you have this crucible moment, pause and take time for yourself and just really be able to spend time with you.
Yeah.
Because you are who's going to get you through that crucible moment, whether it's a good crucible moment or it's a tough one.
Yeah.
But you have to be so good with who you are and know what you're capable of so that you can navigate it.
I love that. We're gonna end it right there. That
Okay.
was, I pause in that moment, right?
Yes.
Like I remember when my role got eliminated initially, I was so shocked. And I was going through, I'm a person of faith, so I was going through,
Yeah.
I kept telling people I'll be all right, like, because
Yeah.
every time I look back over my life, I was always okay. Like it worked out. But you would have days where they weren't so great. But I remember immediately starting to look for roles.
Yeah.
No, I needed to pause.
Yeah.
And so the last part I'll share about mine is, and you'll love this, the day before my role was eliminated, I went to church, and it was and my pastor's lesson was, sometimes you get comfortable in places and God needs you to move,
Yeah.
and you don't move. And if he has to make you move, it's not going to feel good.
Yeah.
But it's for your good.
It's for your good.
And so I think taking that pause and recognizing that moment doesn't feel good, but it is for your good. I appreciate that from you.
Yeah.
That has been another episode of The Crucible with Jeff Marshall, Modupe. Thank you so much for gracing us with your
it's so
presence.
good to see you again.
I know. When I saw your name on there, I was like, I got to get her on.
Yeah.
On an episode, and so I couldn't be more grateful.
Thank you.
I would wish you luck, but you don't
Yes.
need it. I just put it in the air that, with everything that you're doing from this point forward, I wish you levels of success beyond what you've already done.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much, my
Thank
friend.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it for this episode of The Crucible. Stay tuned for more, and remember, when you hit those crucible moments, pause, take a moment, and then after that pause, move forward. It's been a word from my friend Modupe Congleton. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of The Crucible with Jeff Marshall. If you would like to be a guest on the program, let's be in touch. And be sure to stay connected with us through your favorite platforms. The Crucible with Jeff Marshall is part of the A Live Podcast Network and can be found in audio-only format wherever you listen to your podcasts. Production of this project was created by Gifted Entertainment, a full-service creative video production company.